football season. I'm Lee Adams on Varsity Voices MAIS version, along with the voice of Leak Academy's Rebels, Cooper Sanders, and Cliff Barnes, the voice of Tri County Academy. And we're ready for football season, guys. I can't wait for Friday night. How about you?
Man, I'm stoked. I'm so excited. League kicks things off Friday with Jackson Academy, and it'll be my first season as the play-by-play voice for League, and I'm just super excited for football season finally being here.
Yeah, Cooper's got the big advantage on us this week. I'm just watching a jamboree this week with some halfway football. Cooper gets full speed with one of the big three, which I think now there's a big four, but we'll talk about that later. But one of the big three, Leak versus JA. A little bit jealous of you, Coop.
Oh yeah, it'll be really exciting. It's going to be good football no matter what. And week one football, you're going to see a few mistakes, a little bit of sloppy play, but two great teams, to say the
Yeah,
least.
yeah, and
Varsity Voices, excuse me, fellas. It's time to say hello to C Spire and thank you for being our presenting sponsor. C Spire, connecting you with what matters on and off the field for you. That's what C Spire is all about, advanced technology on how you live and work. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com today. C Spire is customer inspired, and we thank them for sponsoring us all season long. The great news is we don't have to wait another Friday night for football. It's here. It's upon us. It's not dress rehearsal. It's the real thing this Friday night. Jackson Academy and Leak Academy again, our marquee matchup, a pair of state champions from a year ago. And both you guys, Coop and Cliff, got to see a thriller in your state championship. And a 25-24 game is about all you can ask for as far as drama is concerned to close out the 2025 season.
Yeah, and it was a big one last year, but we're looking ahead this year now with that 4A 3A matchup this Friday night. But I think before we head into talking specifically about that game, I think we've got a 4A division that's going to be hotly contested this year. And the JA was a strong team last year. I expect them to be a strong team again this year. But Coop, you and I had some thoughts about who we thought were going to be the powerhouses in 4A this year.
Oh yeah, looking at it, JA, they're my pick to win. But I don't know, not sure. Remember who you picked, but Cliff, JA is my pick to win the state championship in 4A this year. I think they're going to be dominant again. But man, all those schools in the Big Four are going to be just really competitive as usual. And I have a feeling those four teams in Jackson could be the four teams that we see in the Final Four and the semifinals. But there's some other teams that can sneak in there. I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
We are as well. And I think we're going to head there to that 4A in just a moment. But as we get ready to do that, I think we've got some sponsors we want to recognize as well.
We certainly do. And we thank C Spire, as we just mentioned, but also Environment Masters. We've been through a very hot and humid summer so far, and the last thing you want is problems with your air conditioning. You want to call our friends at Environment Masters for just $20.50. Members now receive exclusive replacement credits, including up to an additional $300 off new heating and cooling system or $300 off a whole home generator replacement. Also, they're offering $100 off of a water heater replacement. Just contact Environment Masters today. It's going to be a very hot, humid, and steamy environment on Friday night, no matter which game you choose to go to.
Yeah, that's one of those things
have, more on who's playing in this first weekend on August 14th, this Friday night. But we also want to mention that we're going to be rolling out an all-state team, first, second, and third string in our podcast tonight. And there's a lot to look forward to in what we're doing here this evening in our first football season preview episode.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the all-state team that we got to put together. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If your kid is not on there, that doesn't mean your kid's not good. There's so many great athletes in the MAIS, and we want to be able to shed lights on those athletes, athlete by athlete. Not every kid is going to make the list, but the kids that are on the list deserve to be on the list.
I
Yeah,
was
without a
already
doubt.
up 2 or 3 nights debating about first string running backs. There's
Yeah.
only room for 2 on our first team, and it was very difficult to put the final 2 teams on my list. The final 2 running backs, I should say.
Yeah, a lot of talent in all divisions, but 4A is loaded as always. 3A's got some huge talent as well. And, that's another reason, Coop, while I'm looking so forward to that game this Friday night. But, a lot of jamborees are going on right now. Things are happening, and we're getting prepped to move on and take a look at all these 4A teams. That 4A classification is loaded from top to bottom. And it's not just about the big 4 in the Jackson area anymore. It's about all over the state and the 4A schools that will be competing for that title.
Yeah, 4A is absolutely loaded. Parklane, you got a few teams moving down. Lamar, Sullivan, Heritage, all moving down. Parklane, Mag Heights, both of those teams going to be extremely competitive this year as well.
Yeah, and as I look forward, District 1 and 4A, Bayou Academy, or that's a how do we pronounce that? I want to say that right,
Is
Coop.
it?
Bayou, Bayou,
I think
whatever
it's
we want to say
I
it.
think it's Bio. I think that's how you say it in Mississippi.
Okay, well, let's go with that. Let's go with Bayou. We
Bio.
got Magnolia Heights, Madison St. Joe, Pillow Academy, and Starkville Academy, all in District 1. Over in District 2, we've got Hartfield Academy, Jackson Academy, Jackson Prep, and MRA. That's that big 4. Traditionally we had the big 3 for so many years, and now recently with the kind of, I won't say resurgence because that's not the right term, but with the appearance of Hartfield as a statewide powerhouse, now that District 2 is truly what would be the big 4 in the Jackson area. And then 4A's rounded out down in District 3 with Capaya Academy, East Rankin, Oak Forest over in Louisiana, Parklane Academy, and Simpson Academy.
Yeah, Simpson, Starkville, teams like that are going to be really competitive this year. Of course, they do have the Division II playoffs now and the Division III playoffs to kind of help those teams that aren't the Jackson schools. And those teams, it's going to be really interesting to see how those teams compete against each other in the postseason.
Oh, without a doubt. There's some exciting games this year. Of course, the 2 defending state champions from last year, JA and Parklane Academy, both are expected to be strong this year. And we feel like, a couple of us picked JA, if not all of us picked JA, which I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me not give away our picks already. JA is going to be strong just like always. And, there's question marks around MRA, the Patriots over in Madison. There's some question marks around that program this year, some big shoes to fill, and some new names are going to have to make some noise if they're going to be a competitive program. And then that Jackson Prep squad, that's a squad that was very young last year. They've all got an extra year of experience. And that was a school that started out, if you'll remember, they started off the season having a tough time, but really picked things up mid-season and had a pretty strong finish. So that's a prep team that I expect to be strong as well.
Oh, absolutely. Prep and MRA both. MRA, like you said, some shoes to fill. I was talking to my successor, Philip Palmertree, who is now the voice of the MRA Patriots, and he was talking about just, Stockett. That's a hard guy to replace. Very talented football player, threw for a lot of yards, and said this guy, man, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I'll have to go look it up in a second, but he has been absolutely just waiting his turn. You had guys like Philip Short at MRA. You had guys like John White, and then Samuel Stockett. And man, I know the kid's name, but I'm drawing a blank. It's his time. It's his time.
Yeah, MRA is always next man up, and that's what they're going to have to see this year. You've got, as I said a moment ago, you get that Jackson Prep squad that's bringing back a whole lot of young players, but a whole lot of talent with an extra year. MRA is going to have a lot of new faces and a lot of new places. And Hartfield was a similar story to Jackson Prep last year, a team that started off with a little bit of a struggle going on and finished a little bit stronger as the season moved on. But that target in the headlights this year for all those guys is going to be JA. JA's loaded, got talent from top to bottom. I mean, they've got a offensive line that's loaded with talent. You got a kid like Caden Moss, who is headed to Ohio State. I mean, that's legit type of talent there at Jackson Academy. And does that bring back bad memories for you, Cooper? You got Jackson Academy coming to League Friday night, but it's going to be a lot of fun and a very talented team. But a lot of other clubs in that 4A classification as well that do have a chance to make some noise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be competitive all around, and the thing is, it's like some of those teams up there in 4A. They're like your lower level teams of the SEC. People are going to look at the record and look how they performed against the JAs, against the preps, against the MRAs, and be like, man, this team's awful. But it's like, this is still the highest level of football in the MAIS. These teams are still good. It's just, it shows how good the schools like JA, MRA, Prep, Hartfield are.
Yeah, well, a few players to watch there in that 4A class. Of course, I've already mentioned Caden Moss. Caden Moss, a legit ball player over at Jackson Academy, a 5-star and Ohio State commit. Also, Aaric Beasley, that running back at Jackson Academy. When you got a guy blocking like Caden Moss and a guy running the ball like Aaric Beasley, I mean, this kid had 142 yards and 3 touchdowns in the title game. And then you got a kid over at MRA, Caleb Unger, an offensive lineman, top 15 in-state recruit, just in the 2027 class, but just a absolute beast there on the offensive line for MRA. And, the big surprise to everybody is Sullivan Reed, possibly one of the biggest talents in the state, is going to focus on baseball this year, not going to be throwing the football around over there at Lamar. So unfortunately, that was a kid we hope to see make some noise over there playing quarterback at Lamar, but unfortunately Sullivan Reed's getting ready to go play baseball at Mississippi State.
Yeah, and that's
mentioned Unger from MRA, and he will be the left tackle for the Patriots, but they do project him to play center when he gets to the next level, and he is one of the most sought-after offensive linemen in the entire state.
Absolutely. I mean, he's so talented. I see he's still uncommitted as far as 24/7 right now. But I saw like Tulane is really big on him, and that's a school. A lot of people were saying Tulane. It was Tulane because it's not an SEC school. It was an SEC school, and Tulane's also a playoff school. That's still high level football down there in New Orleans. But man, yeah, talking about Sullivan Reed, he was my first team quarterback.
Yeah, I know that was a heartbreaker to you, Coop.
Yeah, I mean, he was my first team quarterback, and I mean, I knew he was going to be really, really talented. I heard the rumors, and I asked one of my youth at church who goes to Lamar, and I was like, is Sullivan Reed not playing football? And he's like, I don't know. And he texted somebody about 2 minutes later. He's like, no, he's not. And I'm like, wow. So that really shocked me. That's going to be a big hit for Lamar, but Lamar, they're still coming back with a lot of talent. They played in the state championship game, won the state championship in Division III last year. They're going to be all right. It's a big hit, but Lamar still has talent all over the field.
Well, one team we hadn't talked about much is, while we're talking about the Big Four in Central Mississippi, but I think Parklane is not a team anybody can fall asleep on this year. They've got a lot of talent coming back, and also a brand new quarterback that just moved out of Brookhaven to be the new signal caller. Reese Robinson is his name, and he'll be a freshman, and looks like he's going to be stepping right into that Parklane quarterback starting position, and he's already gotten an offer from Tulane, as you were mentioning the Green Wave. That's a pretty big offer for someone just entering the 9th grade.
Yeah, and as a younger kid, he's making, a lot of coaches are talking about him. Several of the coaches I've had discussions with have mentioned him as a big standout player this year in the state of Mississippi. And I'm excited to see, especially a kid with multiple years of eligibility left, what kind of noise he can come in and make with a Parklane team that has a good bit of talent returning.
And that's the thing. This is also a long term investment because he's a young guy, and we've seen what young guys who have started for many years end up doing in the MAIS. Guys I talked about earlier, like John White, who started as an eighth grader at Winona Christian, then came over to Jackson Prep, and he's the state's all-time leading passer. Guys like Philip Short, who was really dominant, ended up being a really good quarterback at Jackson State. I mean, it's Park Lane is going to develop him really well, and I think he's going to be something to look out for this year and especially years to come.
I couldn't agree more with you, Coop. It's always interesting to see those young guys that get thrust into that high pressure position and have to start from a very young age. It tends to lead to good, positive things in the future for that type of ball player.
Well, another team we hadn't mentioned from Central Mississippi is East Rankin under Coach Teddy Dice. They're going to be starting out this Friday night, and their first opponent is Mount Zion, a team that is playing the first game in the history of the school. And just learning about them before we went on the air this evening, and they're the Mount Zion Lions, as if that might rhyme. But that's who we're talking about for week one for East Rankin this season. And that's going to be a tough challenge for a brand new football program that's only played junior varsity football prior to this year.
Well, I think in our slideshow, if we can move ahead just a little bit, we've got some picks that I think we'd probably like to take a look at and discuss and compare and contrast as we move along in this evening's show. And we've got picks broken out for all three of us. And in 4A, it was a little bit more consistent. I can't wait till we move on to 3A. We've got a little bit of special interest down there in 3A. But 4A, Coop, you looks like you're up first. Tell us about why you picked your top 5 picks.
JA, I mean, we talked about JA earlier. They're going to be a dominant football team. They're bringing so much back, and that offensive line, especially Caden Moss, if they are at their peak and Aaric Beasley is at his peak, I mean, the run game is just going to be unstoppable. The pass game is going to be there too for JA, but at this level of ball, if you have the run game, you're going to be able to win football games. Aaric Beasley, a top level player in this state. That offensive line, probably one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the state for MAIS. JA, that's my pick for the state championship.
And
Hartfield, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you see, it's consistent across the board. All three of us picked JA and Hartfield as 1 and 2.
We're all singing the same song coming right out of the gate this year, and there's not too much to debate as far as who we're looking at and who the other teams are sort of looking up at to start out the season. You got Jackson Academy and Hartfield. Not a coincidence that those are the two teams that played for the title last season.
Yeah, so Coop, share your thoughts with us on Hartfield.
Yeah, Hartfield, they're bringing a lot of talent back. They're going to be good. They're hungry after last year. They're hungry to get that state championship, and they're going to go seeking it. I think JA Hartfield, that's going to be a really good game. I mean, that is my pick for the state championship. If seeding works out that way, you never know how the seeding is going to fall, but that definitely could be our state championship game for 4A Division I. MRA, Parklane, I see, me and you kind of have that swapped there. I just think, MRA, they're a younger team because they graduated a lot of players. You have the quarterback shift. I just don't think Park Lane is going to be quite there to be past MRA yet. I think Park Lane is going to be a very talented ball club. I think they're going to be great, but I just don't think they're going to be able to surpass MRA and the size, especially with that offensive line led by Caleb Unger. I just don't think they're going to be able to get past the offense of MRA. I think Park Lane has a really good offense, but I don't think their defense is going to match up to be able to combat MRA in that area. And then Prep coming in at 5th, really good defense, returning a lot of young guys. I just don't think they're there with the age yet. I just think a lot of those sophomores from last year, they don't quite have that seniority, and that they have a lot of the leadership coming back, but I just don't think they'll quite be there physically this year. That's why I have them at 5.
Yeah, and you know, and our only difference, as you can see in our two comparisons, there's Parklane and MRA flipped, which is just a toss of a coin. And I think Parklane,
Yeah.
you know, your comments about the defense are legitimate, but Parklane has a chance to be really explosive offensively. And you know, they say defensive wins championships, but God, offense sure is fun to watch, man. When you get out there and light the scoreboard up and run that ball or move that ball up and down the field and put big numbers on the board. But my thoughts on prep. You know, and maybe I'm a little biased because you can see behind me, you know, I'm the Tri County guy, but try
Yeah.
to spread it around a little bit as well. But the Tri County prep game last year, I felt was almost the point where prep turned a corner. Prep was struggling coming into that game. That had a big loss to Park Lane. A lot of people were kind of down on the program, and they went on a little bit of a run after that Tri County game last year. I'm not saying it had anything to do with Tri County. That's just a point in the season they were at where that sort of happened. And prep really caught another gear and was able to move forward and make some good things happen. And boy, they've got a lot of kids coming back this year. And, you know, I think prep could have easily been that team right down there that's in that sleeper category, but I think prep's well deserving, in my opinion, of that number 5 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. We also
And
did
I
some
also have
sleeper.
them as number 5 that's missing from my list. And MRA, I believe, actually, I have Parklane at 5 and the sleeper being Jackson Prep this season. But MRA, with this strong running back that's coming back at the tailback spot, I believe his name is Colson O'Kane,
Yeah.
had over 800 yards last year. And I don't know if this is just rumor or coaches bragging, but I've heard the kid has never been seen to be knocked backwards. He loves the contact that much that he'll take you on and it's not going to go in the opposite direction when he makes contact.
You know, it sounds
What
like
do you
that's going
think
to be
of someone saying that about a running back?
it
That
sounds
they've
like that's
never
going to be a fun
seen him.
player to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be, yeah. And again, with that big, strong offensive line that they have, and they've got a couple of guys on my first team all state offensive line. Unger's one of them, and we'll reveal who the other one is in just a few moments. Before we go any further, though, we want to thank Pine Straw America for sponsoring these 4A predictions. You know, they have an exclusive subscription program, and when you get to the weekend, you want to do what you want to do. A lot of us don't like to have to be out in the yard, especially in this heat. They can take care of all your landscaping needs without the hassle. Just imagine lush, perfectly edged beds all year long, done effortlessly by you. Leave it to Pine Straw America to take care of that for you. Guys, we're back looking at our picks for 4A, and I had Magnolia Heights sneaking into this, a team out of the north, out of Senatobia. They've got a lot of talent coming back for this season, and they want to be heard from as well. And they might come up and surprise some people.
Yeah, that's why I had Mag Heights as my sleeper. They are young and they're not as big as the Jackson schools in Park Lane, but they do have one player who is just as big as a caliber of a player, and that's Brandon Overstreet. Brandon Overstreet threw, I believe, for over 3,000 yards last year. He is going to be ready to come back this year, and he is going to be just absolutely sensational on that football field. He's going to dominate some teams that he goes against.
And that was my justification for that as my sleeper as well. My first sleeper, Magnolia Heights. And, you know, Overstreet's just a special player. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
kid that makes things happen. You know, that offense runs around and through him. And, you know, with him at the helm, you never know what that team may do. And I don't know about you guys, but I've always looked at Senatobia and that North Mississippi area as being an area of the state that produces a lot of athletes and many different sports. You know, baseball is always so strong up in that part of the state, but football is a big deal up there in Senatobia. And I think Magnolia Heights is going to come ready to play. And with a leader like Overstreet, they've got a real shot to make some noise.
So I have Park Lane at 5, and then you can just about throw a blanket over the rest of them when we talk about how close a lot of these teams are. And interesting, Cliff, I see you have Kapaya Academy as one of your sleepers this year.
Yeah, and that one's one that I just always feel like good things happen down there in Copiah County, another area that's full of athletes in the state of Mississippi. And there's I don't have a real reason. I don't have a reason as far as I don't feel like there's that one special player that screams out at me, but that's a school that has some tradition. They've had ups and downs over the years, but it's a school that I feel like may have a chance to. I don't know about you guys. I kind of believe in being due sometimes. And
Mhm.
they were number 9 seed in Division 2 last year, but they may turn things around and make some noise this year.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with the being due thing. There's just some of those teams, man, they just deserve it. Like just with their history and with how hard those players work and just how much you see they love football down there, they're due it. And hey, that might mean they're due a Division 2 state championship this year. That might be, hey, they're due to make it to the Division 1 playoffs. But
Yeah.
either way, I mean, they're due it.
Well, there seems to be some consistency among all of us that we feel like when all the chips come together at the end of the year, it's going to be the big four in the metro area plus Park Lane and Magnolia Heights making some noise in 4A. But, I would love nothing more than to be proved totally wrong. I'd like to see
Yeah.
somebody come out of nowhere and make some noise in 4A.
It's going to be tough, but those look like the haves separating themselves from the have-nots in the top of the 4A for this upcoming 2026 season. Hey, we want to thank one of our newer sponsors is Rick's Pro Truck. Let me tell you about what's going on with them. They have everything to help you make a statement with your truck and help keep it secure with the all-new Real Truck Backflip MX4. The best-selling truck bed cover anywhere in the world just got even better. Find out about the tested backflip. It's a hard cover and it keeps your gear theft resistant as well. Rick's Pro Truck, one of our new sponsors on Varsity Voices this season, and we certainly do appreciate them. And they are the ones we can thank as we move along to the 3A and who
Oh
we
boy.
like in 3A football. There you see the schools across the 5 districts. And where do you guys want to start with this?
Well,
Man,
we'll just
go
we'll
ahead,
let
Cliff.
Coop go ahead. No, I'm going to defer to you, Coop. You're above me. You go ahead and go first.
All right, we're not going to get into the predictions yet. We're just going to talk about how competitive these districts are first. First, I'll start off with District 1. Marshall Academy, a team that played for the Division 2 state championship last year. Rossville, coming from Tennessee. Washington School, a team that I really think could shock some people this year in 3A. Washington was in the Division 1 playoff. They came to week 1, round 1 of the playoffs last year. And then West Memphis, Arkansas. West Memphis used to play 8-man football. They're new to 11-man, and I think they're really starting to find their foot, and they have a lot of athletes. They, I believe, made it to the second round of baseball playoffs in their division last year. I know they played for North State in basketball. West Memphis, that's a school up in Arkansas with a lot of athletes, and this is going to be a really athletic district. Washington, they're big. Marshall, they have athletes. Rossville, I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about Rossville Christian, but I think that's going to be a really competitive district. Now,
Yeah.
District 2, go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah, District 2. Now that's going to be one near and dear to your heart with your Leak Academy Rebels in it. But, kind of a bad draw with Heritage dropping down because I'm going to tell you, Heritage is going to be hard to handle this year. That's a program that's loaded from top to bottom, talent at the quarterback position. Heritage is going to be that team that's going to step in and be that new challenger. It was Leak Tri-County last year. We're going to have some talent in some of these other districts, but wow, Heritage and Leak together, and then you throw Wayne in there, and gosh, man, what could have been with Lamar, and what still could be. But wow,
Yeah,
if Sullivan Reed's still at Lamar, what does that district look like, Goop?
that district becomes, and I'm saying this confidently, I'm not saying this to rage bait. Of course, you have your Jackson schools, but besides them, District 2 becomes the most competitive district in MAIS football. You have 3 teams in there right now. We don't know what Lamar is going to look like. I have a little bit of information on them, but 3 teams who played in state championship games last season. two of those state champions in Leake and Lamar. Heritage lost the state championship game in Division II to Parklane in 4A last year. There's two schools moving down from 4A in this district. There's no disrespect to Wayne there. I've heard Wayne is extremely athletic, and I heard Wayne is going to be a lot better this year. Wayne, Leake, Lamar, Heritage, that's an extremely competitive district. Leake, they're coming back for vengeance. They're bringing back a lot of players. There's always the talk, they're not going to be as good anymore. George Wilcox graduated. But everybody he gave the ball to is still there. So Leake's coming back strong.
Yeah, we'll move on to District 3 now. And, District 3 is that I-20 corridor district kind of through the middle of the state where you've got Central Hines over in Raymond, and not just in the state, Louisiana too, Riverfield over in Louisiana down I-20, St. Al there in Vicksburg, and then Tri-County, the defending state runner-up. They were defeated by, go ahead, let me just say it, Coop, defeated by Leake last year in the state championship. I'll go ahead and swallow my pill there. But Central Hines, Riverfield, St. Al, and Tri-County are going to be that district and that one in District 3. And, Riverfield's a school that had a good run back in the late 2000s and into the teens, but has dropped off just a little bit lately. So I'm kind of curious what we see out of Riverfield over there in Rayville, but I don't see any way that Tri-County's not the front runner in that district.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be with you on that. Tri-County, they're bringing a lot back. You can talk more about these guys than I can, but Cade Hunt and Jimmy Washburn. Cade Hunt on there, you see running back, but me and you talked about this a few days ago. Cade Hunt as a linebacker is terrifying.
Yes, he is. And what you saw last year of that kid as a linebacker was as a sophomore. That's a sophomore standing back there patrolling the field at linebacker, and he's only gotten larger. If you saw him during baseball season, during football season, his older brother, Hayden, was a senior last year. Cade was noticeably smaller during football season. By the end of baseball season, they looked like twins on the baseball field. Cade has continued to gain a little bit more weight. And you can see he's one of our players to watch down there. He's a big player on both sides of the ball for Tri-County, and he's going to make a big difference for the Rebels this year.
Now, Cliff, let me ask you.
Hines, what can we expect from Central Hines this season?
Central Hines last year, they weren't as talented as other teams. I believe they were really young. If I'm not mistaken, they had a running back that was a freshman. They put up a good many yards on it. They gave Leake a little bit of trouble, if I'm not mistaking them with another team. Central Hines, they're learning. I don't really see them being a contender, but I can see them getting a lot better.
Yeah, and we'll discuss that a little bit more when we move on into our top 5 predictions. But let's jump ahead and move on to District 4. And the first one that jumps out at me in District 4 is Adams County for no other reason than the play caller on the sidelines.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. That's a storied program that I remember a few years ago was just winning, and they continue to win. Last year, they were able to win the Division II state championship in 3A. And in that district, they're going to have Brookhaven, who lost the Division III championship in 4A. So those are two teams that are going to compete in that district.
Yeah, and that's, it's a David King coach team was the reference I was making earlier. And that's a guy that dominated over at Trinity and then moved to his alma mater over there at Adams County. And they just find a way year after year to find and produce and bring that talent. But, Brookhaven's going to make some noise down there as well. Brookhaven's a team that's been on the upswing lately, a lot of talent at all levels in all sports, and a lot of kids that are 2 and 3 sport athletes. And I think the kids from down at Brookhaven Academy, those Cougars from Brookhaven, are going to make some noise as well this year.
Oh, absolutely. What do we know about Cathedral and Clinton, Cliff?
Now, Cathedral's one of the Catholic schools out of Natchez. Oh, yeah. I do not have any great information about Cathedral, but I do know that Cathedral's a program that's been up and down over the years.
Yeah, there was
we'll move ahead to District 5 in just a moment, but we want to first say thanks to Mississippi Sports Medicine for being one of our sponsors again this season on Varsity Voices. If you've got an injury on game day or just everyday aches and pains of getting a little older, Mississippi sports medicine is trusted by Ole Miss athletes, schools from all over the state. And you know that more than half of Mississippi's total joint replacement surgeries are done by the great folks at Mississippi Sports Medicine. Whether you're on the field or in the stands, get back to what you love and do it fast. Same day appointments are available and no referral needed at Mississippi Sports Medicine. Again, thank you from all of us here at Varsity Voices. Now on we go back to District 5 of the Class 3A.
Yeah, District 5, we've got a Mitt School, Bowling Green over in Louisiana, Christian Collegiate, now a school I think might make some noise this year, Columbia Academy. They got a player down there. His last name is Buckley that looks like a grown man. I mean, he is a grown man, looks like a senior in college down there. That man was intimidating on the pitcher's mound this year. I'm talking about Trent Buckley, but I have not gotten to see him play football in person, but I can only imagine he looks like a monster out there at tight end and defensive end.
He
Oh yeah,
does. And I talked to his coach, Joey Hawkins, about him. And Coach Hawkins has been at it as far as being a head coach for quite a number of years. It's decades that he has been at the helm of football programs across the state of Mississippi. And he tells me that Buckley is the best tight end he's ever coached in its entire history of coaching.
Yeah, so let's look at our players to watch here in 3A. We've got Cade Hunt, the running back from Tri-County. We've already spoken about him a little bit. We had Sullivan Reed there, but we've talked about that situation. Jimmy Washburn, a wide receiver at Tri-County. He's a defensive back as well. He was a good, solid football player. And then Connor Floyd, the quarterback up at Marshall Academy, 298 yards in the title game last year. So now let's jump ahead now and take a look at our picks. And Cooper and Cliff got a little homerism going on, but I think that's well deserved.
we do.
That you guys might have been shocked to see me have Columbia up there in the top spot. That got your attention, didn't it?
Oh, I like it. I like it. But Coop, tell us about your picks.
I want to know about the homerism comment first when we get to your pick. But man, Leake's my number one. I think they go back to back. Leake, you see Tri-County as my number two. Those teams play September 25th. I think they play November 20th, November 19th as well. That's my prediction. Leake and Tri-County, just two very talented. Leake, man, like I said earlier, they're bringing so much back. Just about everyone who touched the ball last year, except for George Wilcox, is coming back. Major Chandler, he was a tight end his sophomore year and had close to 400 yards receiving as a sophomore. Last year, he unfortunately missed the season. He had an ACL injury just right before the year started, but this year he's going to be the starting quarterback. George Wilcox, one of the things about him was his size, 6'2", 6'3", 230 pounds. Yeah, you got Major Chandler coming here, 6'4", 235 at the quarterback position in 3A. One of the biggest guys on the field. He can absolutely heave it downfield, and he can run too. He's going to be a leader for that team. Guys like Garrett Adcock coming back at the running back position, Easton Page, and Gage Warren coming back at receiver. Leake's bringing a lot back, and Coach Pickens and that squad, they're going to be ready to go. Tri-County is my number two. Cliff will be glad to see that one. He's the Tri-County guy. He's not going to like the number two in front of it, but man, Tri-County, they're returning a lot. And those two teams are going to be ready to get after each other. Cliff's going to be able to give you a little bit more information about Tri-County than I can, and that's his job too. It's my job to give you a little more information on Leake than Cliff can. But Tri-County, I mean, they're going to be dominant. They're going to be dominant in their district. They're going to dominate through the playoffs, and it's going to be another good game at the Brickyard in November. Looking at third, I got Heritage. Heritage dropped down. We talked there. I mean, they're a really good team. Juice Tate is an incredible quarterback. Juice Tate is going to be dominant this year for Heritage, and he's going to make a lot of noise with that team. They're coming off a 10-3 season and a runner-up finish in 2025. They graduated some talent, but there's optimism around this squad. You see, Tate, he's going to lead that team well. You got guys like Bryson Bogue, who's going to be a wide receiver. He's going to make a lot of noise this year. Coach Shabazz Smith, he has this program rolling. They're going to be good in 3A, and I wouldn't be surprised if they take League or Tri-County spot, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I would not be surprised. Number 4, I got Lamar. We talked about, the Sullivan Reed. Him missing is going to be a big hit, but they have a lot of confidence. I got the opportunity to talk to Coach Stacy Luker the other day from Lamar. Stacy Luker in Alabama has 7 state championships as a head coach. That type of coaching translates no matter where you at. I've heard coaches before say, "Oh, well, I've had to make chicken salad out of chicken crap." Guys who win 7 state championships, they can make chicken salad out of chicken crap. And the cool thing for Lamar is that roster isn't chicken crap. You can make chicken salad out of those players that you have at Lamar and those athletes. Guys like Walker Mims are going to be big for them this year. And wrapping it up in 5th, I have Washington. Washington, they're going to be led by Jones Roberson, who is going to be incredible on that defense. Tynes Guidry, Cade Henderson. They're a really physical team. And I saw them in baseball, man. Those guys, they play together. Those guys love each other as a team. They gel together really well. They play well together, and they've been playing together a long time. I mean, this is a big senior class for them. They're going to make a lot of noise. That's why I have them at 5.
Yeah, as I look over at my picks, I'm just going to tell you the truth, Cooper. I kind of did that to give you a hard time because, in my honest opinion, we're going to have one A, B, and C this year in 3A football. I think you can take Tri-County, Heritage, Leak, and possibly Columbia as well and throw them in a hat. And I think you can pull out any of those teams. And of course, it's obvious I'm a Tri-County guy. I'm going to put Tri-County first. I'm going to put them up there. Heritage and Leak, I think they're going to be right there as well. I think the toughest thing for either one of those two teams is that they're going to have to face each other in district play in a huge game. Not that a district title really matters that much anymore, but prideful for the kids it does. But Heritage just goes back to Tate. I mean, Tate's a proven leader, a kid that can really get after it. And I fully believe Major Chandler is one of the best athletes. He's huge. I mean, we thought we saw the biggest quarterback we were ever going to see last year in George Wilcox. And now Pickens is going to throw an even bigger kid out there at Leak Academy and Major Chandler. But here's my but with Major Chandler. Major Chandler, this will be the first year to start at quarterback in the high school level. And it's a whole different game at the high school level. And that's a question mark. So we're going to find out early because he's going to be challenged 3 nights from now against Jackson Academy. And we're going to learn a lot Friday night when Leak Academy and JA hit the field. But that leads me back to Tri-County. I'm going to circle back around. Tri-County is a school that the last 5 years, you had 3 years of Bryce Warner. I mean, a starter that started 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, led the Rebels to 2 state championships. Last year, you had a quarterback, Cooper Johnson, who was a great athlete. But I think Cooper would easily tell you Cooper was an athlete first and a quarterback second. Cooper was a good quarterback. He would have started at most schools at quarterback, but Cooper was an athlete playing quarterback. This year, Tri-County's got a new man coming in there, and I don't know what we're going to get out of him because it's a new kid to the school in Brady Busby, a kid that came up to be a pitcher on the baseball team. And it turns out when he came in to play baseball, he's also a 2-year starter down at Terry High School, and he's a dual threat kid. He's got a cannon of an arm. He throws the ball well, and he's got good speed as well. Now, he's no Major Chandler. He's not 200 and something pounds. He's 165, 170 pounds, but he's an athlete back there in the backfield. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do Thursday night in the Jamboree. But that's the big question mark for Tri-County. What happens at quarterback? But the cushion you've got is you've got athletes all over the field. You got Cade Hunt back there at running back. You got Jimmy Washburn. You've got there's a dozen kids that have speed and have agility and have the ability to make plays on that ball team. So, I know I'm talking around in circles about it, but in 3A, I really feel like those top 4 teams, it could be anybody's ball game. And I feel like it's going to be who gets hot at the right time toward the end of the season and can put together that run in the playoffs. And, I put ACCS at number 5. Like I said, the David King effect always finds athletes down there, always finds a way to get it done. And Wayne and Washington, Wayne's another one of those schools. Wayne tends to just pull athletes and have good kids at good position. And Washington, it's all because I heard that rumor. Washington's huge. They're huge. They've got big guys across that front. They had some tough times last year, but had some success as well. And Washington's a school that can really turn the corner this year.
Oh,
Well, I have
absolutely.
Heritage at number 5 to round out. Where you see it blank there, in case you were wondering, it is Heritage I have at number 5. And guys, we're getting up against the clock, and we need to thank Army National Guard for being one of our sponsors. Army National Guard, always ready, serving the state and nation with pride. You can discover how you can serve now with the Mississippi Army National Guard. We thank them so much for the sponsorship here on Varsity Voices. We'll actually have a second podcast to be loading up for this week, and we're going to be getting into who we think are the absolute best players in the state. Our statewide three deep list is going to be coming up on our next podcast, fellas.
Yeah, that's going to be in just a few minutes.
So, yes, we're doing you get 2 for 1 in our first preseason episode.
Yeah, I
I
think
just
maybe
can't wait
maybe
to actually see some plays that count and some games that count this Friday night.
yeah. So are we gonna take a look at the three deep, or we're going to hold it for episode 2? We're going to keep that a surprise. You got a sneak peek if you were quick a minute ago
Oh
as
yeah.
somebody was flipping through the slides, but I got them covered up pretty quick. We want to take a look at that tonight, or we're going to move on tonight?
You guys can tell me, but I just wanted to
Hey, let's
give
talk about
that
let's talk
thanks to
about the
Army
third
National
team.
Guard.
Or no, let's talk about the first team. Let's go first team first. Or do we want to do first or third first, Cliff?
Let's hit the third team, and then we'll save the rest. How
Yeah.
about that? There we go.
All right. The MAIS All-State third team from the Varsity Voices podcast. Cliff, let's dive into it, man.
Yeah, up at QB on that third team, we've got Reese Robinson out of Parklane Academy, a young kid we've talked about a lot. Garrett Adcock, he's a kid you know well, Coop, a returning running back at Leak Academy. That's a kid that's really going to make some noise. That other running back is Bentley Myers from down at Columbia Academy. The wide receiving core on that third team, Caden Lowry over at Wayne Academy, Madden Bates at Canton Academy, and Jalil Moore at Greenville Academy. How about that offensive line, Cooper?
Man, that offensive line, you got Dylan Kinsley from Oak Hill, Fletcher McGaughan. Oh, I'm far away from my computer. Excuse me, from Greenville St. Joe. Zach Richard, his high school teammate, right there with him. Ethan Woodham from Newton County Academy. Shout out 8-man football. And then Jacob Duncan from DeSoto.
And defensively, down on that D line, Red Hatcher out of Centerville Academy. Linebacking core, let's take a look at Cade Hunt. He's a kid we talked about that's a big time running back for Tri County, but probably maybe even a bigger piece to that team playing linebacker. Also, William Lewis Jr. out of Washington School, Jones Robertson out of Washington School as well. And the defensive backfield, Brennan Evans from Leak Academy, Cooper Ellerby from Tallulah, Reginald Jackson and Luke Wesson from River Oaks, and at kicker, thanks to Lee Toller Robinson over at East Rankin Academy.
Oh yeah, those guys will be good. And I want to point out, we see Cade Hunt with the ball in this picture when he's listed as a linebacker. We know he's a running back, but man, I was looking for pictures of Cade, and I couldn't find a clean picture of him to put on there because he was always making a hit, and it was going to be featuring the other guy more than it was him, and some guy was going to see himself on this list just getting absolutely smacked by Cade Hunt. So couldn't disrespect the other kid like that, but. Man, yeah, I mean, this is our team. I will say, if you spot somebody who is graduated, we're not perfect. We tried to do the best we could looking through all this, but pretty sure all those guys are playing football this year. But, man, it was hard to filter through some of the graduates, man.
Yeah, and I'm ready. I'm excited about episode number 2 to get into that first and second team. And, you could go back and pause the podcast and maybe take a look at it, but we welcome you to, but we're going to dig into it in the next episode.
And it's also brought to you by C Spire. Again, thanks to C Spire. They're one team all in for you. You can get game-changing technology today backed by dedicated experts based right here in your community. Find out more at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Yes, the first and second string all-state team will be up in our next podcast, as well as a look at some of the regular season games that will be starting up this Friday night on the 14th. Looking forward to that second podcast, you guys. Great job tonight.
And also have a look at a preview of 2A and 1A as well in podcast number 2.
I'm excited about 2A.
Yeah, can't wait. And I'm excited to hear about Friday night, Cooper. Can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Varsity Voices, and we'll see you on the next episode.